What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Retro Cup in the Go Battle League in this season of Hidden Gems. Basically, this cup bans any Dark, Steel, or Fairy-type Pokemon. Only the original 15 are allowed. So you're going to see a lot of Pokemon that are Ghost-type is the dominant type here. Ghost and Dragon, I think, are going to be the most dominant types here because there's no Darks or Steels or Fairies to really wall any of those types off like there usually has been in the new, newer generations of things, so to speak. So just some quick check through the rankings here. I think that some strong Pokemon, I've always appreciated Frostlass in any meta that it's in. Up energy or shields, it can always just decimate things. Regirock is an absolute unit in this meta, I believe. And Cresselia has just about perfect coverage on the meta if you give it the right move set. I think Grass Knot Moonblast actually gives it perfect coverage here, if I'm not mistaken. Except for Golbat, I think Future Sight might actually be, maybe Future Sight. I think Grass Knot Future Sight is what gives it perfect coverage here. So very strong move set there, because Psychic is really only resisted by Dark types, Steel types, and Psychic typing itself, which if you give it Grass Knot, I think it actually covers everything. So anyway, let's talk about the teams. That's what you're here for. So all these teams we're going to have, and I have a name that is just sitting here in behind my Hidden Gems thing. So let's pop that out of here real quick. I'm recording videos back to back today. So we got the first team that's going to be Altaria, Double Ice. Let's take a look at this team. So we've got Altaria, and really, I mean, this team is just, it speaks for itself, right? You've got the Altaria with the fighting polarity here, and then you got Frostlass on the safe swap, is just trying to get rid of that, get out that anti ice, so like your Lantern, or basically something else that would essentially, I mean, there's not a whole lot, but the things that would take out Frostlass would usually take out the Aurorus as well. And you're not looking at a whole lot of things here that break this team apart, except for Regirock, a really lucky Whiscash who lands the Blizzard, and then something like Alolan Graveler. So Alolan Graveler, I mean, you could definitely like switch out the Altaria for something a little bit more neutral, like maybe Dragonair, or something that can not get clapped by rocks. I feel like aside from that, though, this team is extremely strong, and Altaria just by itself has always been a meta mainstay here in the Retro Cup. So let's take a look at the next team here. We've got Regirock, Cresselia, and Noctowl. We're taking the Regirock Cresselia core from my first time hitting Legend. My first Legend team was Regirock, Cresselia, Frostlass, but I've been trying my best not to duplicate Pokemon across these teams to give some variety. But essentially what we're looking for with a Regirock lead is things in the back that can cover the grass, water, etc. So Cresselia covers that fairly nicely, being able to cover the main weaknesses of grass just because of its neutrality, which is what the Frostlass was there for, and that's what the Noctowl is here for in this one. We've also got the water with the Grass Knot, and we've also got it covering the fighting types, having just being Psychic and also having Moonblast or Future Sight. So let's change this to Future Sight just because I think that's the better move set, especially if you run Cress on the save swap. And then we've got straight good coverage and good bulk on this team. It's a very bulky team. Really doesn't get broken apart by a whole lot. Like Jellicent isn't terrible because you have Grass Knot on the crest, and then something like Lantern would not be great here. I hate Lantern so much. It's so annoying, and it's so good, but it's so annoying. Potential threats being, like Dragonair, some Electrics. Altaria is not great, but it's, the back things that don't do well against it. And even then, like, Noctowl and Cress are super, like, neutral against Altaria. It's kind of funny. So, Lantern is really the one main thing I'd be worried about. Jellicent's okay. Frostlass, I mean, anything that Regirock beats and the two in the back don't, that's what we're working about, right? So, you're using this Noctowl to bait out, like, a Frostlass, and then Regirock just claps the Frostlass in the next week. So, that's how the team kind of functions. So, this is a really strong meta team. I think this could be this could be one of the best teams, I think, honestly. And let's take a look into the next one here. So we've got another unique team here. We've got Lantern, Pidgeot, Altaria. We've got Lantern Double Flyers, trying to really take advantage of taking out those pesky grass types that Lantern really just doesn't care for, as well as dealing somewhat with Lickitung, because having Power Whip, it does make it a threat into the water types. So really, if Regice and Mamoswine are my top two things that I'm worried about, I think we're good. This team looks really strong. I know Pidgeot is really sim heavy because of the Feather Dance and Brave Bird, but you could slot Noctowl in here and get a more realistic look at your sims. But I think that this team is extraordinarily strong and has a lot of potential with the Pidgeot to, make a lot of really interesting and strong plays, because Feather Dance as a move just makes so many more plays possible because of that attack drop. You know, your opponent swaps in something, and the Pidgeot can just nuke, you know, it can either nuke it and play the mind game, or it can debuff it, and then you can swap to something else if the Pidgeot, like usually if the Pidgeot's in the lead in that example, but it just allows for more fluid gameplay in the event that your Pidgeot is not necessarily just locked into something as a counter swap, right? So some things that you want to look out for: Abomasnow would absolutely be a pain with this team. You'd have to basically do your best to make sure that you're not you're not getting completely clapped by this, though. You have to get the shields with a Sky Attack or the Brave Bird or the Feather Dance, right? Like, you have to be able to manage the Abomasnow. But other than that, the team is really strong. Anything that seems to core break the back and front doesn't really seem like it's all that meta relevant, right? Like, I'm not going to see a whole lot of Hakumos. I might see some Dunsparces, but not a lot. And Zebstrika I'm certainly not going to see. So very good team here. I think that you could certainly make some changes here to address the Abomasnow. I think that's probably the worst offender of things that would make this team hard to run. So let's move into number 4 here, as we see a little bit more of a I mean, really nostalgia if you want to talk about Charizard and Miltank. I think Miltank is just a really strong safe swap in this meta with Thunderbolt, Body Slam, Rollout. Gets to moves like no one's business, super quick. You could also run like Vigoroth, or you could run like Double or something in the slot. But again, trying to make some unique lines here in this video. And the Charizard Trevenant core, so that you can have Charizard, which can basically clap the cheeks off of anything with Blast Burn. And then you've also got Trevenant, which covers all of those water types that really give the Charizard a problem. And we're using Miltank here as a very neutral swap. My wife is losing her mind in the background. It's something happening in the game, and I love that woman so much. Miltank is a very neutral... She's laughing. Miltank is a very neutral Pokemon here that is able to outspam just about anything in this meta, and has Thunderbolt as a way to take care of things like water types. Again, something that, you know, the Charizard struggles with. You could run it with Ice Beam if you want to, but then you have a real problem with Jellicent, and I don't think that would be a good thing to have. So anyway, I should probably rate the team and show you guys the matrices. So a lot of the teams have B coverage. The Retro Cup has expanded significantly since I first played it back in season 7. Yeah, 7. So it doesn't have that, you know, when I played that Regirock Frost / Cresselia team, it was A's across the board, and it was an incredibly strong team because things like Trevenant weren't in the meta yet. But now that there's so many more things available, I feel like it's impossible to cover every possible thing anymore. So we're just looking to make some strong cores with a good safe swap in the middle, and just try to make those plays in the neutral matchups. And if you were to catch like Lantern, Noctowl, and Machamp, like, that would just completely destroy you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But in those other situations where you're seeing more neutral games, or you win leads, things like that, you know, it's always good to be able to have a team that's just flexible, right? So we're going to have an Aurorus problem with this team. I already know that, but I don't think Aurorus is going to be quite as common as you think it is. Even though it's, you know, number 2, I think, on the rankings, I don't think it's going to be extremely common. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. Pidgeot, again, that's sim heavy. You could make some plays here with the Miltank and with the Charizard. Diggersby, I mean, like I said, we've got ways to make plays here. And after that, we're talking about Magcargo, Amora, and yeah, Noctowl can technically beat Charizard, but like, Charizard player knows what they're doing. They're going to beat a Noctowl. I just know that for a fact. So Lantern on Sims can beat Miltank, but again, that's just a matchup where, like, if you put it into the 2 shields, I have a feeling that Lantern's not going to have a good time, and you could flip it if you wanted to. So that's that team. Let's take a look at the final team here. And again, I just want to remind you guys that you could find all of these teams, as well as other teams that I haven't put on YouTube. You can find those all on my Patreon Discord, which you can find a link down here shortly, closer to the end of the video, as well as a link in the pinned comment description. If you'd like to check me out on Patreon, support me and my family and my endeavors into this YouTube channel, I greatly appreciate the even the consideration. And I look to do my best to put my foot forward and help everybody in that Discord get better at this game, as well as everyone helping each other. It's really an incredible community we've built in that Discord. So And if you're looking for coaching on my Metafy, again, in the pinned comment and the description for that, my socials are also up top here too, if you can see them. So Lickitung, Toxapex, and Jellicent. Lickitung Double Water are going to be the next team here. So we've got the Lickitung Toxapex duality into fighters, which is Lickitung's main problem. Lickitung claps ghosts because of lick and normal typing and all that bulk. So we're looking good on that front. So even though it's got a C for coverage, we've got an A for bulk, safety, consistency, and I feel like that's enough to make plays because Lickitung may have some bad matchups, but overall it's a very consistent Pokemon. Jellicent with Surf, there's no Obstagoon or Scrafty in this meta because the dark types don't exist, so Jellicent's incredibly safe. Being able to spam out Surfs probably would even give Lickitung a run for its money, to be honest. And then Toxapex is just the bulkiest Poison Jabber ever existed, so that thing is just a menace. Now you could probably swap out, you know, Jellicent for like Tentacruel if you wanted to. I feel like that would be a really like just ABB way to do it, but you could, because Tentacruel, you know, really only ever worried about steel types and ground types, so since there's no steel types in this meta, might be a little bit easier for Tentacruel to thrive as well. But what we're looking at here, you know, Auroras once again is a bit of a problem, but Auroras is only really going to get going if it lands that Meteor Beam. So if you can manage that matchup with your Lickitung, I think you'd be okay. And then Jellicent obviously does really well there because of the Surfs. Again, you know, Pidgeot can core break this team. Pidgeot is always going to be listed on the Sims as something that can beat everything because it gets the Feather Dance, and then it gets the shield with the Feather Dance, and then it lands the Brave Bird. So that's every Sim on Pidgeot in a nutshell. So don't always take Pidgeot Sims at face value. Always just kind of keep in mind what kind of context there is. And something that I didn't slip into a team here, but I feel like would be very strong somewhere as a safe swap as a Ringaroo, has always been, since it came out, a very strong Pokemon in the Retro Cup to have. So if you have one, this is a good place to use it. And overall, I think that the things that break this team are going to be very uncommon. And then we're looking at more neutral things like Noctowl, Aurorus, Dubwool is pretty neutral, you know, all things considered. And then you know, we start talking about like Emolga and Galvantula, some things that you'll see it a little bit more spicy. So that's going to do it for me. This is my some of my 5 favorite teams or ideas for teams that we can use in the Retro Cup. I'm sure that whatever we come up with will either be one of these teams or something completely different, because that's just how the meta always tends to shape up. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.